Hello and welcome to my channel. There's a lot of buzz in the spiritual community about ascension. In this video, I'm going to explain what ascension is and how it affects all of us. As with most things in this realm, there are two aspects. There is the collective ascension, whereby the consciousness or vibration of everyone on this planet is rising. And then there's the personal aspect of ascension, where the individual is aware of and takes an active role in raising their own consciousness. If you're listening to this, then you're most likely already taking an active role in the expansion of your consciousness. First, let us look at the collective rise in consciousness. We are at the end of a 25,000-year cycle, and this means that we are experiencing an ascension cycle. There are circumstances that we're going through that are making it easier for people to raise their level of awareness and consciousness, both right now and for the next 50 to 100 years. Gaia herself is raising in vibration, so in turn, every being on the planet is affected by this change in frequency. And in tandem to this, we're being impacted by intense cosmic energies from the area of space that the Earth is traveling through. And this means that many of us are experiencing downloads and shifts in our energy. It's most easy to work with these energies if we are consciously aware of them. As much as there are some groups that are trying to raise their vibration, it would be easy to take an overall view of the world events and look at wars, medical directives, the popularity of base culture, and think, life on Earth is so crazy and dark. How can we be collectively raising our vibration? It's important to realize that the rise in our collective consciousness is happening really slowly. And there is also great resistance from those who currently hold a position of power. They're trying to prevent it or at least slow it down. But ultimately, we are all heading in the direction of ascension. And there's also a lot of karma that needs to be worked out on a global stage. And on the surface, this can look really messy. It's important to remember to keep our focus in our sphere of influence and just really work with what we are able to change ourselves. I want to clear up some common myths in the New Age community about ascension. They tend to center around stories that are of outside events that cause a sudden and rapid change in consciousness. So some examples of these can be a solar flare causing instantaneous mass awakenings. So, more souls are waking up every day. But if everybody was to wake up in one go, that would be super chaotic. Another common myth is that benevolent aliens such as the Palladians or the Arcturians are going to take those of us that are at higher enough vibrations, say to the fourth or fifth dimensions. Now, firstly, dimensions don't work like that. And while I like to keep some possibility space open for all outcomes, I think this turn of events is highly unlikely. And really an issue with these kind of ideas is that it keeps us trapped in a mindset where we are looking for an external savior to rescue us from our negative circumstances. Raising our consciousness means that we acknowledge that we are sovereign beings, and as such, we are responsible for solving our own problems. Of course, we can get help from physical and etheric beings. Raising our consciousness is an individual journey, and it has many different paths for all of us. Having an inner focus of healing means that we can gain access to the multidimensional aspects of ourselves within this 3D existence. This brings me to the second and probably the most important part of ascension. This is the personal or self-ascension. Ultimately, we are the ones that are having this experience of life. And it is our choice whether we are on a path of growth and expansion, or if we are simply at the whim of the dominant culture. Taking an active role in one's own ascension is usually preceded by having a spiritual awakening. These can take a variety of forms, but they generally show a person that the 3D world is not as solid or as fixed as it seems. We begin to realize that the world doesn't work the way that we were told by school, the media, or our peers. This realization prompts a person to question their reality and to make changes in alignment with their new understandings of life. The path towards ascension is not an easy one. It requires discipline, determination, and a lot of brutal self-honesty. You may often find yourself taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and this is all perfectly normal. It is important for us to develop discernment in order to ascend, because there is a lot of false light in the spiritual community, and this can lead us in the wrong direction. Many want to tell us that ascension needs to look a certain way. The fact is, we're all on our own path, and we're all having unique lessons and experiences. So what can help us on our journey of ascension? Practices like meditating, journaling, eating a good diet, energetic clearings, exercise, getting the right amount of sleep, these are all going to be helpful things. But there is no magic elixir or step-by-step program of enlightenment. Some basic foundations are a healthy sense of self-worth, a willingness to follow our joy, even if it seems scary. But we also need to develop radical self-honesty. We need to be truly honest with ourselves to establish our actual likes and dislikes. It is also important to integrate our shadow. We must cultivate a willingness to observe all our actions from a place of neutrality and curiosity. When we can observe our actions without judgment, we can calmly gain understanding. And this really enables us to embody these improvements. Eventually, we're going to get to a place where our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are in alignment. Of course, there are many pitfalls along the way that can take us away from the path of growth, and I have certainly fallen into many of these. The first big one is becoming really just overly focused on spiritual enlightenment. If we try too hard to be too good, we're just never going to end up getting to the destination. If we get too focused on the right way to be, we fall into judgment and superiority. Diversity is what makes life interesting, and it's important not to pigeonhole others into our idea of ascension. God and life has a sense of humor. We need to take ascension seriously, but not that seriously. Okay, moving on to the next pitfall. We can get really too attached to meditation practices or astral travel to the point where we really devalue our 3D experience. Ascension is not about escaping this life. It's about learning to feel empowered enough to create a life that is meaningful to you. And this is really important because a life that is meaningful to you is really a treasure to the all. You know, we came here to experience this 3D reality exactly because it is hard, and it takes courage and dedication to heal and bring forth the beauty that is inside. And, you know, you don't have to worry. If you don't make it in this lifetime or in this ascension cycle, there's going to be many other opportunities for you to ascend. You know, there are just so many spiritual teachings that put a focus on exiting this realm. And I truly believe that we only get to exit this realm when we have really lost that desire to leave, because the desire to leave is resistance to life itself. And I believe that we only get to leave when we no longer resist any experience in life, good or bad. The other things that we get misguided about is that we believe that we shouldn't feel any negative emotions because we consider these to be low vibration. So this effectively puts us in a state where we are denying reality. And it can lead us into situations where we don't defend our boundaries because we want to avoid conflict. You know, the path to ascension is not just going to be filled with blissed out realizations. Of course, you are going to have these as part of an ascension path, but growth is cyclical and it's messy. You know, crying on the bathroom floor or telling someone no is going to be just as much a part of ascension as being kind and loving. If we're trying to be positive all the time, we are being inauthentic. And this is why the law of attraction doesn't really work that well for a lot of people, because they're not authentically feeling the emotion that they're trying to feel. And you know, the universe knows you front to back. It knows when you're full of shit. So really, we've got to be prepared to work through these negative emotions and situations with honesty. For example, if a relative dies and you think pretending to be happy will mean that you don't feel grief, you'll not only be wrong, but you'll likely end up feeling more pain and maybe even possibly suffer illness in the long run. A person who is on the path to ascension is willing to feel all their emotions fully. But, you know, eventually you work on the skill of getting to a place of neutrality much more quickly. And you're going to really understand that there are good aspects and bad aspects in all experiences. And also, there is a higher octave of every emotion and every situation. The final banana skin on the path of ascension is helping from a place of ego. Many on the spiritual path feel drawn to be of service to others. And, you know, this is totally worthy and understandable. But the problem is that many are still offering help with expectations attached. Now, this can come in the form of expecting praise, to wanting to affect a certain outcome, giving in order to receive, or just giving because you're coming from a place of self-sacrifice and you're trying to placate some guilt inside. If you're giving in this energetically unclean way, then you can often end up causing more hurt and pain to the person that you're trying to help. True help is freely given and done without expecting anything in return. And also the helper is stable enough to give without damaging themselves. Their cup overflows rather than needing to be emptied. I hope I've managed to shed some light on the topic of ascension. To summarize, there are two aspects. There's the global aspect, which we're all part of, whether we like it or not. And then we have the personal journey. And this generally looks like somebody healing their pain and their traumas and having the courage to follow their passions and share their knowledge with others along the way. Now, some of us are further along than others, but, you know, this isn't something to get an ego about. That would be like laughing at a 2-year-old because they can't do up their shoelaces. Wherever you're at, it's okay. And wherever someone else is at is also okay. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. And if you'd like a personal session with me, please visit my website, cosmicfairy777.com. The link is in the description below. And have yourselves a wonderful day, and namaste.